On now, and we appreciate your being here this morning. We've had a little, for those of you who may be joining us live stream, we've had a little difficulty getting everybody on the board connected, but I think we've succeeded in that.
This conference is being recorded. Only the main conference is recorded.
I would request that you silence your cell phones so as to not have any interruptions. As I've already said, this meeting is being live streamed. I'm Rosemary Altman. I'm the chairwoman of the Mississippi Board of Education. I am present in Jackson, Mississippi, and at the Mississippi Department of Education boardroom. This meeting of the Board of Education is being held today, Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, at 10 a.m. via teleconference and video means pursuant to the Mississippi Code annotated section 2541.5. Notice of this meeting was posted in accordance with state law and included the date, time, place, and purpose of the meeting and identified the location of the meeting so as to be available to the public. An audio recording is being made of this meeting and minutes will be recorded. The meeting, as I said, is also being live streamed. Dr. Carrie Wright is present also in the Mississippi Department of Education board room, and she will participate in this meeting. We do have a quorum, and as I call the names of the board members, please state your location, only your location. You don't have to state your address. Dr. Wendy Barrett.
Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay. Dr. Angela Bass.
President in Jackson, Mississippi.
Mr. Glenn East.
President in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Okay. Dr. Karen Elam. Okay, she's having some difficulty. She's been on, and we hope there she is. Dr. Elam, we can see you, but we can't hear you. Dr. Ronnie McGehee. We see you too, but we don't hear you. Mr. Bill Jacobs. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Mr. Bill Jacobs.
Located, Mississippi.
Mr. Matt Miller.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Okay. Ms. Mary Werner.
President in Yuma, Arizona.
Okay. Ms. Micah Hill.
President in Mississippi.
All right. And Ms. Amy Zane.
President in Cleveland, Mississippi.
All right. I have asked Dr. Elam to lead our pledge and Mr. East to lead our prayer. If you would join us, please.
Yes, that's her, but she's on mute.
Yeah, she's still muted. Join me with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would, please pray with me. Heavenly Father, may your goodness be present among us today. Bless our meeting with unity, hope, and vision for the students and educators in our great state. Build in all of us a deep respect for one another so that our work reflects kindness and is beneficial to everyone. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
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 Before we start taking action items, I'm going to ask that when we vote on something, if you will raise your hand so we can see you on the screen and know what your vote is. Some of you mute your computers or your phones while you're not talking, and so it's difficult for us to get the vote. So if you just raise your hand when we vote. The first action item we have is approval of the minutes of the August 19th, 2021 board meeting and the minutes of the September 2nd 2021 special call meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes as presented? Ms. Werner? Okay, okay. And Dr. McGehee will second. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is the approval of our agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If you have some, we'll entertain a motion now.
I'll make a motion, Mary Warner.
Okay, well, that's, excuse me. There are no additions or deletions. Do we do the consent? What are the consent?
Clarify. Right now, we're just asking if there's an amendment.
Yeah, we're asking right now if you have any additions or deletions, and I hear none from you. So, the consent agenda, do you have any questions or deletions or anything you want pulled out on the consent agenda? Dr. Barrett, is that you? Do you have your hand up? Okay.
No.
All right. So, it's kind of like being
I was
at
turning up the volume.
this is kind of like being at an auction. You may buy something before you know it. All right, we're discussing the consent agenda. I didn't see any additions or deletions, so we will entertain a motion. Mrs. Werner made a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Would you like for that to remain, Ms. Werner? Yes.
Please.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second to adopt the agenda as presented? Okay, Mr. Miller, all right. All in favor? Raise your hand, please. Okay, all right, the motion carries. So the agenda is adopted as presented. We'll move into our recognition ceremony now. We're going to recognize the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Math and Mathematics and Science Teaching. These are state-level finalists, and we'll turn that over
Yes.
to Dr. Wright.
I was gonna do that at the very, if you don't mind, at the very end of my
Okay, all
remarks.
right.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get our
Oh,
report.
yeah, we've got a great video for you
Okay.
today. So, good morning and welcome to everybody. This has been a good month. We've gotten a lot accomplished here. So for my own work, I had 2 interviews this month. One with Gerard Gibbard on Super Talk, Midday with Gerard Gibbard, and it's kind of around the opening of school and things that were happening that way. And also in WREG out of Memphis, the same kind of thing about more or less school opening, vaccinations, things of that nature. We've got several updates to give you, just brief updates. We're going to start with one called Mission Acceleration Project. And Nathan Oakley is going to tell the board exactly what that is and what MDE's participation is in that. Nathan?
Thank you. So over the last 5-6 years, MDE has partnered with the University of Mississippi and with a number of nonprofits to support campaign for grade level reading communities across the state. These are community-based organizations that support reading across birth through 3rd grade. And so a number of these communities, through a GEAR grant from the governor's office, a number of these communities have offered what's called Mission Acceleration. And it's about providing high dosage tutoring, particularly to students who are struggling with reading in grades K through 5. So Campaign for Grade Level Reading had a board call last week and had the opportunity to visit with them and hear an update. And this is right in line with the work that we're doing as an agency around our literacy statewide. But what this project is doing, it's allowing college students from across the state to provide tutoring supports to these struggling learners. In the summer, they had a number of folks in different communities. To give you some numbers, there were 24 what they call academic guides, 24 college students in the summer of 2021 working at 5 different sites across the state, supporting well over 86 scholars or 86 students, but there were 86 students that attended 2 or more sessions where they could get pre-test and post-test information to get a sense of the impact of this tutorial support. Those tutors and students interacted for well over 60,000 minutes over the course of the summer. The remarkable piece of this, though, when we look at it, is the outcomes. When you look at the students that participated over the 7 weeks of the summer term, those students saw on average an improvement of 4 months in their reading skills, 4 months of growth over 7 weeks. The project is expanding this year. It started in a smaller number of schools. They're expanding to all of the public and private, to 16 of the public and private post-secondary institutions in the state. And as we talked with them last week, it was remarkable to me. These are students from every background. This is not education majors. In fact, the majority of folks that are doing this work this fall are not in the education field.
That's interesting.
But they're coming from different backgrounds and wanting to serve students in the state. Perfect. But as we talked last week, they are doing a lot of outreach, trying to expand this, and also looking at how they can better partner with the College of Education, deans of education, to try to attract potential education majors to support this effort.
That's great, and particularly in a time when, so many students need some extra help. That's great. Thanks, Nathan. I wanted to bring the board up to date on where we are with the emergency procurement that you approved on September the 2nd. As you know, you approved an emergency declaration concerning the procurement of products and services using our ESSER funds. You also approved for the agency to ask the Information Technology Services Board to temporarily suspend the restriction that emergency contracts not exceed 1 year. That's the ITS. We were able to limit these emergency procurements to only IT products and services, and we were able to reduce the amount of emergency expenditures to approximately $89 million, using only federal funds, no state dollars at all. The remaining contracts for products and services will proceed using the standard procurement process. We presented our request to suspend the 1-year emergency contract limitation for these procurements to the ITS board in their September the 16th meeting. At the meeting and prior to our presentation, ITS Executive Director David Johnson told his board that our request was reasonable and that the board had the authority to suspend the regulation. We gave our presentation to the board, answered their questions, and our request was approved. We have worked closely with the leadership at ITS in this process, and I want to say how much we appreciate them partnering with us. They have really been hip to hip with us during this entire process, making sure that we are expending our federal dollars to the benefit of our students and our teachers across the state. And so we will soon be presenting to you for approval many contracts on many exciting projects that are going to have a real positive impact on education. So hats off to our team, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But really a big thank you to ITS and to David Johnson for his leadership. That's much appreciated. You're going to be hearing today about our MAP results and our ACT results. But the one thing that I want to highlight, which I think is critical, our participation rates are amazing. And I think I say that with a heartfelt thank you to all teachers and leaders across the state. Our overall participation rate for our MAP assessment was 96.9%. Now, the feds had waived the 95 participation rate, but we came out as a board, if you remember, in September of last year, really encouraging districts to get as many kids tested as possible. So our pass rates in the past have varied between 98 and 99. So for us, in the middle of a pandemic, to have an overall pass rate of 96.9%, participation rate, what did I say? Pass rate, no, thank you, big difference, pass rate versus participation rate. Thank you, Pete. Keep me honest here, ever the optimist. The participation rate and our ACT results for participation, we actually had the highest participation rate in the nation. So lots to be proud of, and you're going to hear more of that in Dr. Vanderford's presentation. So I want to give you a real quick overview of where we are with the strategic plan. It is not going to be the detailed presentation that I will give you in January, but it is to let you know that the leadership team has been working on this, and we've spent a few days in retreat to make sure we've got the strategic plan in terms of outcomes where it needs to be. So you should, if you can see, are you bringing that up, Tamala? Yes. Okay. As new board members, I also thought it was important to kind of give you an idea of what our process has been with our strategic plan. Okay, wait. Oh, well, hang on. It started to work.
Press
The top button.
I'll do it for you.
Okay, you click it.
Yeah.
Okay, as you know, you can go to the next slide. The board,
Bear with me one moment. Let me share the screen. I'm sorry.
you going to click? You want me to click?
I'll click.
You'll click, okay. As you know, and or you may not know since you're new, the board approved the vision and mission for the state when we adopted the strategic plan. At the same time, go ahead, click. The board also, and there's a series of that, and there's another slide to show you. You know you have 6 goals in this plan. This is something that the board voted on. We had retreat actually with the board in discussion on this following work from the leadership team. And go to the next slide. So that's part of your role, and I talked with some of the board members earlier today, is to set the vision, the mission, and the goals for the education in Mississippi. And then the department's job is to implement that vision, mission, and goals. And along with that, we have developed objectives and strategies inside the strategic plan. And in January, you're going to get a very detailed update on where we are. We have done this annually, letting you know how close we are to achieving the goals that we've set and also the outcome measures that are in the report. So in 2014, the board adopted the plan with goals 1 through 5. And then in 2016, the board expanded it by adding goal 6. And the reason they did that was to prioritize school and district improvement. And then in 2018, we added additional outcomes to measure additional priorities, including pre-K achievement, teacher diversity, and IT projects. So I wanted to give you a high-level overview of impact on student achievement. When we started this in 2013, this is the status of where we were as a state. We were rated F by Quality Counts in our K-12 achievement. We were literally 50th in the nation for our achievement. Our graduation rate was at 75.5. The NAEP scores came out, and we were more than 1 full grade level behind the national average on NAEP. And we were the poster child for the Honesty Gap. The Honesty Gap report came out, and it was saying for states that use their statewide assessments, we were using our MCT2 at the time, coming out and saying we had 65 to 70% of our kids proficient in reading, and NAEP came out and it was really only 22% of our kids that were proficient in reading. So we have done an awful lot since 2013 to not be the face of the Honesty Gap. In fact, we were recognized by the same organization that produced that Honesty Gap report for having made so many significant changes. So in, next slide. Yeah, so 2021, we are now a C- in overall in quality counts. We got a C for our change for success. We're 35th in the nation. This really depends on which measure you're using. We've seen measures also as high as 28, but that's a huge difference than 50 in these short 8 years. 87.7% of our students, which is higher than the national average, are graduating from our high schools. NAEP in 2019, we were #1 in the nation for our gains in 4th grade reading and math, and higher than the national average in math and tied for reading. And now even Quality Counts has ranked us as the #2 most improved state in the nation. So that's 3 consecutive years we've held that ranking. Our early learning collaboratives continue to show amazing progress. They are outperforming all of their peers coming into kindergarten. This lets us know they're already ready to learn. And so the ability to expand pre-K, which has been a goal of this board, continues to be a huge part of what we're trying to get accomplished. We are only one of 6 states in the nation that meet all of the National Institute of Early Education Research meeting all of their 10 quality indicators. That is huge for us. We have continued to be in that ranking, and so that's put us on the map, obviously, quite easily where early childhood is concerned. Our kindergarten readiness, as you know, we've got only about 1 out of 3 coming in ready for kindergarten, but by the time that they end kindergarten, you've got about 66% of our kids that are ready then for first grade. Our reading achievement, you know, we changed the pass rate in 2016 and gave districts 3 years to say we're going to raise the bar. So now all children have to pass at level 3 or higher in a 5-level system. And our teachers have continued to do an amazing job to make sure that our children are meeting those goals. Our map results, as you can see, and I'm giving this to you for context because you're going to need this as we talk about our map assessment results. For the past 4 years, they have increased steadily every single year. Levels 4 and 5 are proficient and advanced. So this gives you an idea that for the past 4 years, we have consistently been improving in educational outcomes. These are our NAEP results. This is a 10-year span. This gives you an idea of really how much we have grown just in those 10 years in both 4th grade reading and math and 8th grade reading and math. And as I said, in 2019, we were #1 in the nation for our gains in 4th grade reading and 4th grade math, 3rd in the nation for our gains in 8th grade math, and 4th in the nation for 8th grade reading. And those the red flags to the side are over a 10-year period showing our ranking as #2 in the nation. Our graduation rate, the highest it's ever been. You can see where we started. We are now at 87.7. And likewise with our dropout rate is the next slide, is the lowest it's ever been at 8.8. So this lets you know that our high schools are doing an outstanding job of keeping children engaged and keeping them in school so that they can walk the stage. And that I just mentioned to you, this is our most recent ranking that we've had, which is #2. And like I said, this is for 3 consecutive years that Quality Counts has recognized Mississippi. So here's the outcome measures that we're looking at for this year. Goal 1 is your all students being proficient and showing growth in all assessed areas. These are the outcomes that we look at. So we're looking at increasing the percentage of students who pass the 3rd grade reading assessment. On the first administration is what we've been looking at by subgroup. Increasing the percentage of students proficient and advanced on our statewide assessments and in high school. Decreasing the percentage of kids that are scoring in levels 1 through 3. 4 and 5 is really what we're shooting for, and so we're looking to make sure that those numbers go down. And then increasing the percentage of students demonstrating growth on our statewide assessments per subgroup. Goal 2 is making sure that all graduates exit high school ready for college and career. So the outcomes we're looking at here are making sure that we are continuing to increase the percentage of students graduating from high school and ready for college and career by subgroup. Increase the percentage of students ready for college as measured by ACT, and you're going to hear about that today. Increase the percentage of students participating in and passing dual credit. Increase the percentage of students participating in passing advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and the Cambridge Advanced International Certificate of Education, and also increasing the number of students career ready. Goal 3, making sure that every little one has access to high quality early childhood programming. And there we're looking at making sure that we're increasing the percentage of pre-K kids in public school, attaining kindergarten readiness at the end of pre-K. That's our goal. Ensuring percentages of kindergarten students achieving end-of-year targets on the kindergarten readiness assessment. This is a good one for us on 3. We've been expanding our blended pre-K classes, which are classes with students with disabilities as well as students without. So we want to look at increasing the percentage of our students with disabilities in general education early childhood programs while decreasing our self-contained programs at the same time. Increasing the numbers of students enrolled in Title I and locally funded pre-K, and increasing the percentage of our early learning collaborative sites meeting the required rate of readiness. Goal 4 is making sure all schools have effective teachers and leaders. We're looking at increasing the percentage of districts reporting that our PGS ratings for teachers and leaders, increasing the percentage of teacher candidates passing that licensure exam on the first attempt, increasing the percentage of licensed diverse teachers and leaders, and reducing the percentage of inexperienced teachers in schools that have high poverty and high minority, and reducing the percentage of non-certified teachers in schools that are also high poverty and high minority. Goal 5 was everybody using data to improve student outcomes. We have accomplished what you see on the left. Those have, that's one of, they've got little check marks by them. We've been able to get a lot done where that is concerned about our public-facing data system, our user-friendly website, creating a roadmap to improve MSIS, and also publishing research that has been conducted on our website as well. Now we're looking on the right to modernize, continue to modernize our MSIS system, increasing the capacity of MDE to manage, secure, and use data, and increasing the capacity of districts to provide a rigorous, engaging, and secure digital learning experience. And our last goal is every school and district rated C or higher. And so our outcomes, as you can imagine, is increase the growth of D and F districts by improving their letter grade or the number of points within that grade, increasing the growth of D and F by improving the letter grade, or increasing the number of points within that grade. These are schools, districts, and schools. Increasing the growth of our districts of transformation by the same method. Increasing the growth of our schools under districts of transformation by the same method. Increasing the percentage of districts rated C or higher. Increasing the percentages of schools rated C or higher. And likewise, decreasing the number of our high schools that are rated D and F. So I wanted to give you this as a way to be thinking about what it is that we are doing as an agency and the work that is going on across our state. And I thought this would be helpful as a context as you're looking at our data today and then knowing that you're going to be getting a presentation in January. So moving on to recognition, first I want to recognize 3 of folks on our leadership team, and that is Pete Smith, Felicia Gavin, and Joe Goff. To say that these 3 individuals have put in a number of hours on this ITS procurement and the people that they've met with and the amount of time that they've spent getting this across the goal line was not insignificant. So for Pete and Felicia and Joe, I want to personally congratulate you and to also say thank you so much. The children of the state will benefit from your hard work, and I want that to be recognized. And now we're going to move into our Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. We have a video to show you. We captured it on a video since we didn't want to bring everybody from around the state. These awards are given, they're national awards. They alternate years in cycles. So one year you're looking at those that are recognized math and science teachers, including computer science, between grades K through 6, and then the next cycle recognizes teachers in grades 7 through 12. This cycle that you're going to see and our awardees are in that cycle, grades 7 through 12. So I'll turn this over to you for the good morning. It is my honor to present 6 exceptional Mississippi teachers for recognition before the State Board of Education. These teachers are the 2021 state level finalists for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. This program is the nation's highest honor that teachers of mathematics and science, including computer science, can receive. Established in 1983 by the White House, this program allows states to select up to 3 finalists in mathematics and up to 3 finalists in science. One of the state's finalists in each content area may then be selected as the presidential awardee for the state. This is the highest recognition that a kindergarten through 12th grade teacher of mathematics or science may receive for outstanding teaching in the United States. Awardees serve as models for their colleagues, inspirations for their communities, and leaders in the improvement of mathematics and science education. First, we will meet our mathematics teachers. Our first honoree is Dr. Tricia Gilbreth, a 15-year veteran teacher at Northwest Rankin High School in Rankin County School District. Dr. Gilbreth currently teaches AP Calculus, Digital Electronics, and Principles of Engineering. Dr. Gilbreth, would you like to say a few words?
As a state finalist, I know I'm following in the footsteps of some truly great educators. So many teachers I admire have earned this award, and I'm humbled to find myself walking the path they cleared for me and other math and science teachers. One of those teachers in particular, Jennifer Wilson, a 2011 Presidential Award winner, showed me how to be a teacher. She modeled a passion for mathematics, paired with patience and kindness that translated into a classroom that produced hundreds of students with a love for problem solving. I am lucky to have learned from and with her over the years. She is the voice in my head that keeps me grounded in quality math teaching practices and reminds me to always err on the side of kindness. The list of educators that influences my day-to-day teaching is long, and I'm lucky to be surrounded by the hardworking educators at Northwest Rankin High School. I'm sure I'm going to miss someone, but a few of these men and women deserve a little shout out. Cindy Christian, Adrienne Dumas, Juniper Wallace, Carrie Sumrall, Max Van Landingham, Heather Germany, Emily Massey, Brianna Perry, April Nicholson, and Delwyn Wallace. You are my people. When I need advice, I know I can trust you because you put your students first. When I need help, you are always there, no questions asked. And I could not do this job without Shara Higby, my brain trampoline and external storage. She is my daily reminder how to be an excellent teacher. And to the younger generations of teachers, you inspire me. I see you give 100% to your students and then go to work a second job so that you can do what you love and also pay rent. I hear people complain about how lazy the younger generation is, and I think you clearly haven't met these teachers. Please keep doing what you love. These students need people like you in their lives. And I need to mention my parents who have been supportive my whole life and have cultivated a love for math. I can still remember the conversation in college when I told them I wanted to change my major from engineering to math so that I could be a teacher. I'm sure they were a little worried and a little annoyed that they'd have to pay for some summer school, but they took it in stride and have been supported through all the ups and downs of my career. So to Mike and Rhonda Gilbreth, y'all are awesome and I love you.
Thank you so much. Our next honoree is Jacqueline Lewis, a 15-year veteran teacher at Enterprise High School in the Enterprise School District. Ms. Lewis has 17 years of experience as a computer software design engineer and currently teaches Algebra 1, AP Computer Science A, and AP Computer Science Principles. Ms. Lewis.
While I appreciate the recognition, I have to say, I have to share the spotlight with my leadership team. I want to talk first about my principal, Marlon Brannon at Enterprise High School. He is the hardest working man I know. He constantly asks the teachers, what do you need? What can I do for you? He serves us humbly. He challenges us, but he serves us humbly, and we love him for that. My district superintendent, Josh Perkins at Enterprise School District. Josh has coined the phrase for our district, whatever it takes. He thanks us all the time for our work, but he tells us, I know it's tough. I know the pandemic has been hard, but I need you to give a little more. And we gladly do it because Josh Perkins walks the talk. We have seen him mow the lawn. We've seen him serve lunches. And the other day on the way to work, I saw him driving a school bus. He's like, where's Waldo? You don't know where he's gonna pop up. But he inspires us because he's the first one after his day job to roll up his sleeves and jump in and do whatever it takes. I also need to recognize Dr. Wright. She has a teacher advisory council of which I'm very honored to be a part. When I found out I was on it, I thought, oh boy, I get to be in the room with her. I get to hear what she has to say, but it's not about that. She listens to us. She listens to our concerns. She addresses our concerns. She's implemented our ideas. I had an idea that I'm sure she's forgotten that was implemented on a state level, which was the highlight of my career. And she probably doesn't even remember it. But I'll tell you, when you're a teacher and you feel valued, you feel heard, and you feel supported, when you have that, it lights a fire under you and you just want to do the absolute best you can. You want to do whatever it takes. And to my leadership team, I want you to know you've inspired me, you lit a fire under me, and everything I've accomplished, I want to thank you for the inspiration.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Lewis. I appreciate that. Our next honoree is Treasure Lynch, an 8-year veteran teacher at Gulfport High School in Gulfport School District. Ms. Lynch currently teaches honors geometry and algebra 2. Ms. Lynch.
Yes, thank you. I am so blessed and so honored to be a state finalist for this award. I have such a great team of supporters and a lot of colleagues and friends and family that have supported me and helped me get to this level. And I can recall my groundbreaking changing moment in teaching happened when I noticed a lot of my students, especially with mathematics, were so concerned with memorization and wanting just to, or I guess I should say battling that stress of memorizing formulas and memorizing facts, but they didn't really understand why those, facts and formulas are what they are, or, how they came about. And so when I realized that, and we spent more time looking at, it's not the memorization, it's really the application, and that really defines teaching and having them teach each other. I started to see such a change in my students to where they would remember information, for longer periods of time and can explain it better than I taught it to them, and, just became more excited. And that really sparked a fire in me as an educator. And I just really want to be a role model for all students, especially minority students, to definitely pursue STEM. Mathematics has always been a passion of mine since I took AP Calculus. My AP Calculus teacher, Miss Thompson, Robin Thompson, really, I would say, grew my love for math. I've always had an interest in it, but her class was that one class you'll never forget. And to have her, to still be in contact with her, to see how proud she is of me now after hearing this news. And, I know that's such a rewarding thing for her as well. Also, my supervisors, Miss Husley at Gulfport High School, Dr. Harper, Mr. Lindsay, all three of them have been so supportive and so welcoming of my ideas and different things I've been interested to do with the students in the classroom. So I want to thank all of them. I'm so honored and blessed to be so young, but to still be making such a difference in education. It just gives me the confidence that I'm doing the right thing. And so I thank all of you guys as well for inviting us to recognize us and all of our efforts in education as well.
Thank you. Now we will meet the science teachers. Our first honoree is Dane Piegler, an 8-year veteran teacher at Brandon High School in Rankin County School District. Mr. Piegler currently teaches physics, physical science, AP Physics, and AP Computer Science. Mr. Piegler.
First of all, I just want to say that I'm honored to be named among such an elite group of educators. I know one, and I've looked up the rest of you, and this is a special group. And I'd like to thank MDE for putting together this recognition. Being an educator has provided me with some amazing opportunities in a state that so many people are quick to write off. It's truly been a blessing to have had a chance to influence so many students and have played even a small role in their success. I want to thank my former teachers and my colleagues for inspiring me and giving me an example of what good teaching looks like and what a passion for the job is. I want to thank my current and former administrators for leading me and facilitating all my crazy ideas that I've had. I want to thank my wife for encouraging me and putting up with all my late night trips to Lowe's and Walmart to set up things that I should have done earlier in the day. She's currently at home with our 1-month-old son, Luca, right now. And finally, I just wanted to thank my current and former students for allowing me to be a part of their lives and for being a part of mine. So when we had our son a month ago, I had so many students reach out to me and ask how he was and congratulate us, and it was truly humbling. Each of them is remarkable in their own way, and they played an integral part in helping me become the educator that I am. And I hope that they would say that I played a part in their success and that they felt challenged to be better than they were yesterday and supported in that endeavor. So thank you, MDE, for putting this together.
Thank you so much. Our next honoree is Tina Walters, a 13-year veteran teacher who most recently taught at South Jones High School in the Jones County School District. But she is now the Director of Science, Mastery, and Learning Center at the Jones College in Ellisville. Ms. Walters.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. First, I just want to express how thankful I am to even be considered for such an honor. As I was nominated by a senior teacher who is so confident in her own teaching abilities that she was able to reach out and nominate me. Her name is Miss Amy Marshall, and I'm so grateful that we have teachers still that are comfortable enough to recognize worth in other teachers. And that is huge in education. I won't ever be able to be thankful enough for that. Someone wise once told me to think back and remember your favorite teacher, and think back and remember your least favorite teacher, and make that decision early of which one you want to be. We all remember who our favorite teacher was, and we all remember who our least favorite teacher was. And I decided a long time ago that I wanted to try to be the type of teacher that made an impact on students, and whether that meant chemistry or life skills, it didn't matter. I just wanted to have an impact on them. I would like to also say that I'm so grateful for this process. The application process for me was one of the best pieces of professional development that I've been through as a teacher. The reflective process forced me to think about why I make the decisions that I make in the classroom every day. And if you're not thinking as a teacher why you do the things that you do every day, then you need to. Reflecting on why you give a certain assessment, or why you're planning a certain lesson, or even how you're interacting with your students can be one of the greatest components of high quality education. I just want to thank MDE again for everything that they've done for us as state nominees. We've received beautiful flowers, we've received gifts, and those kind of things. I mean, a free pen to a teacher goes a long way, and we are so grateful for that, and I'm thankful for that too.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much. And our third science honoree is Ashley Webb, a 12-year veteran teacher at DeSoto Central High School in the DeSoto County School District. Ms. Webb currently teaches physics, AP Physics 1, AP Physics 2, and PSAT. Ms. Webb.
Thank you. I first want to say a huge shout out to my students in D19 FAM, and want to thank them for what they mean to me. I tell them often that, and remind them often, they are more than a number. And I just want you guys to know that your desire for growth and curiosity that you bring to the classroom each day challenges me to continue to be a curious teacher, and to bring pedagogy to you that will continue to make you want to learn, and not just be focused on that grade all of the time. And so I love you, D19 fam, and I thank you for being with me for the last 12 years. And I am super excited to see what you will be doing in the years to come. I also want to thank Leslie Pleasance, Janine Foucault, and Mary Kelly Ruff for being teachers that are always willing to collaborate with me, no matter what time of day or when I come to their classrooms to ask for this like random thing where I'm stuck. That your collaboration brings me a lot of joy and is one of my favorite components of my job and reasons why I come to school and work each day. I want to thank my Step Up Physics community and physics teacher Twitter for the inspiration and lots of labs and demonstrations that I get in my classroom each day. And finally, I want to thank my friends and the awesome moms and dads and friends that they are to me. The way that they parent and they love on their children inspires me each day, and how I interact with my students and support the students that I have in my classroom. And I also want to thank Mr. Usselton for taking a chance on me 12 years ago and hiring an alternate route teacher 2 weeks before school started to teach chemistry and physics for the first time. It's been a blast for these last 12 years, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Well, great. Thank you so much. Well, congratulations to all of our honorees. You know, your work and your achievements not only make me proud, but it makes all of Mississippi proud. You've really brought a lot of honor to our state. And each of you, in addition to what you've received, will also receive a framed certificate in the mail, so you can expect that coming to you. And I know we've got great educators across the state of Mississippi, so we want more teachers to apply for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. Anyone may nominate an exceptional science, math, or technology teacher in grades K through 6 for the next award. So these cycles are just that. There's award cycles will be alternate between grade K through 6 and 7 through 12. We will close with a short promotional video that gives you information about how to nominate an outstanding teacher and how teachers can apply in 3 steps. You can find this video on MDE's Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages, and we would love for you to share it with all of your social media as well. So thank you, and again, to our honorees. You make us so proud, and congratulations on this distinction.
Hi, my name is Chandra Young, and I'm the 2019 recipient of the Presidential Award of Excellence in Math and Science Teaching for the High School Cycle Awards of Excellence. We have so many amazing teachers in the state of Mississippi that we want to see more of you apply. Anyone can actually nominate you for this award. It can be a parent, your principal, you can nominate yourself. Your students can nominate you, anyone in the community. And we're reaching out because we need more excellent teachers, especially men and persons of color, to go ahead and apply for this amazing award. When I first heard about the Presidential Award of Excellence, I must say the thought of applying terrified me. However, the process was not only gratifying, it helped me to become a better teacher, and I learned more about myself. For me, winning this award opened so many doors. I was able to make so many connections, and I've been able to network with some of the greatest minds, not only in the state of Mississippi, but also in this nation. I really think that you should go ahead and apply for this award. I know the process may seem scary, but it's what you're doing every day anyway. There's an application that you will need to fill out. We fill out applications all the time. You have to write a narrative, which is kind of like lesson planning, but a little bit more detailed because you actually get the joy of critiquing yourself, which is awesome. Not only do you get to say what you did wrong, you also get to talk about what we did right. You also have to record yourself. And this is simple. Once you record yourself, you'll actually get a chance to go back and look at all the things that you do in your classroom that are so amazing and will show you the reason why someone chose to nominate you in the first place. So I've already stepped up to the plate and I've shown the nation what great teachers we have in the state of Mississippi. Now it's up to you. It is your turn to show everyone that Mississippi is where it's at.
And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much. And
that was fun.
Certainly on behalf of the board, we want to offer our congratulations to these teachers who have been recognized for excellence in their classroom. There are so many good things that happen every day in classrooms across the state, and it's important that we stop and thank those teachers who go above and beyond and recognize them. And we just are proud to have these people included in these teachers included in our state. The only thing I have on my report is that Dr. Wright and I were discussing earlier, and we'll firm these up, but the board can be looking for this, is having a board training and a board retreat either in late October or early November. We haven't done that this year. We need to do that. We have new board members who need to be brought up to speed on things, so we'll get a date out to you. She and I are going to discuss this tomorrow, and we will get a date out to you as soon as we can firm something up so you can get that on your calendars, but it's important that we do that. We will now move into our student representative reports. Amy, are you there and are you ready? There you are. Okay. You may proceed.
I have a PowerPoint for today, but before I get into that, I wanted to inform the board that I'll be speaking at the National Association of State Boards of Education's annual summit in October. I'll be on a panel discussing a recent report from the National Academy of Sciences that calls for increased access to, and quality of science education. And I'm really interested in this discussion, especially since in my experience at MSMS, I've had the opportunity to receive a high quality science education. So I think it's important for other students to have similar opportunities as well. With that being said, I'll now move on to my presentation on the efficiency of reduced class sizes. This is from an article that I'm doing at my internship at the Institute for Youth and Policy. And I'd like to thank Dr. Oakley for taking the time to do an interview with me. His experience in the interview, both were really helpful when I was writing the article. So this slide talks about Mississippi's, the most recent Mississippi policies I could find on class sizes. So they range from 22 students per teacher to 33 students per teacher, depending on the grade. Next slide, please. So the most comprehensive research and the most credible research that has been done on class sizes is the Tennessee Student-Teacher Achievement Ratio. This was done on kindergarten through third grade students in small classes of 13 through 17 people, regular classes of 22 through 25 people, and regular classes with an aide of 22 through 25 students. The study found that more students from smaller classes, they were more likely to pass these standardized tests. They were likely to score higher on tests, make better grades, and they eventually found that the economic benefits outweighed the costs. And the benefits that the students from smaller classes had, they especially relate to goal 1 from the board's strategic plan. On the other hand, there are a few limitations with the Tennessee study. Other credible studies haven't had the same results. There have been studies done in California that have shown smaller gains. There have been mixed results in other studies, and there have actually been no results in a study done in Florida. And there's also no data on the effect of reducing class sizes after third grade, so we can't really extend these findings. Next slide, please. The study in Florida, there's a case study that's a bit interesting because it was real life policy that took place. It started in 2003 and the final stage was rolled out by 2011. The initial cost over the first 8 years was $20 billion, and the yearly cost after that was $4 to $5 billion per year. And the effect of this classroom size reduction actually found no impact on test scores. So there's, there's conflicting research about the effect that reducing class sizes has on student achievement. Next slide, please. So there are a few possible explanations for both sides. A few explanations for why reducing class sizes is effective is because it helps younger students and disadvantaged students, and it provides students with good classroom habits and good study habits because it's a smaller group. On the other hand, the impact of a school's funding can often be conflated with the impact of smaller classes because well-funded districts have the resources to hire more teachers and offer smaller classes. And it's often not feasible for schools to reduce classes by so many people. So that's often not possible for them. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, reducing class sizes is beneficial the most when it happens to students in the younger grades, especially for disadvantaged students, and when there is a large reduction of 7+ students. But there are other policies that are more efficient and more impactful, many of which MDE is currently pursuing, such as professional development, digital enrichment, summer school tutoring, etc. And MDE policies on class sizes are on par with national averages, and Mississippi's average class sizes are actually lower than the national average. So that is good for Mississippi. So that concludes my report, and I will be publishing an article on this either later this month or earlier next month.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. That was good information, and we look forward to your report at NASB, and we appreciate your representing us there. For those of you who may not know, Amy is a student representative on the board for the National Association of School Boards Association. So you will represent us well, I know. Micah, are you ready for your report? Micah Hill.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. I want to first off say thank you. I want to first off say thank you to Dr. Wright for holding an orientation and getting to know more about Ms. Barrett and Ms. Werner. Also, good morning. So our school went on virtual 2 weeks ago due to the rise in COVID outbreaks at our school. But this really showed us the true impact technology had in our school because we could continue to carry out instruction time through platforms using Edgenuity and Canvas. We also did web conferences. That way our teachers would be able to count us present. But we're back now and clubs in my school have opened up. Walking down the hallway towards the cafeteria was a station where you could sign up for clubs you wanted to join. My school had student council, beta club, art club, key club, robotics club, fellowship of Christian athletes, and a new club called Golden. Now, I remember my interview, Mr. Miller asked me, how will I be able to take information about students from my school and transfer them here? You know, I hated that question because it really, I just kind of stumped there. But it's a great question because it got me to think. So if I'm supposed to gain perspective from students and hear their thoughts, what better way to do it than to be a part of the student groups themselves? So student council and beta club are the well-anticipated times where students that exhibit leadership skills and comprehension of their environment, motivation, and strive for excellence are selected amongst their class. So I'm currently in student council, as well as 31 qualified students. I was also accepted into Key Club, and we'll start volunteering for our community in the coming months. Beta Club applications are due next Thursday, and I'm excited to see the talented group of students selected. Now, Golden is a new organization provided at the school for female students. It's a mentorship program and focuses on positive self-esteem, body image, and life. I feel like doing stuff together as a school builds our relationships and student involvement. The National Center for Education Statistics proves that students involved in extracurriculars are more likely to attend classes, have a higher GPA, and get a bachelor's degree in college compared to a student not an extracurricular. So I find this time very important for students, for us academically and emotionally, taking into consideration the positive impact these clubs can have on students' mental health. Lastly, I'm very excited for the Student Advisory Council. This is another time where students can use their leadership abilities and voices. I can't wait to see everybody that gets accepted and hearing their valued thoughts. I'm making sure to tell students at my school all about it because it's such a great opportunity for students to provide ideas for the betterment of Mississippi education system.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Micah, for letting us know how your school is getting students to engage and be involved in school activities as well as community activities. You both are doing a good job on your reports each month and working on your projects, and we appreciate that. That was actually the vision of this board for student members, and you all both are doing a great job with that. So we appreciate your work. We will now get reports from our subcommittees. I think the Academic Achievement Pre-K Early Childhood Committee met. Mr. East, do you have a report?
Let me just begin by complimenting the academic team at MDE. They have been working very hard over the last 4 years, attempting to make sure we're providing a high quality instruction and matching that to the materials that are available to our school districts. In 2018, they began with math and have gone through those processes, have developed a rubric for school districts to use on their own instructional material, but also have recommended some items and resources for mathematics. And then later in 2019 and 20, they began the same work with ELA. So as of to date, we have established for the state, this team of staff members has established for the state a strong, high quality instructional materials guideline, recommended material that meets the standards of which we're asking our school districts and our students to meet. Also want to mention the work of the literacy coaches that we have across the state. Their contribution to this process in HQIM, again, high quality instructional materials, but also their work daily with school districts. We have those both in literacy and working in mathematics. So great job to that MDE team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our Workforce, Career, and Technical Education Committee, Dr. McGehee, you have a report.
I do. Thank you so much for allowing us to share this information. We met today for the first time since May 21st, 2020. Ms. Mary Warner was also with me today. We had Dr. Oakley, Dr. Wendy Clemens, and also Dr. Amy Brown give us a report on work keys, the Perkins Plan, and our career academies. Having been fortunate enough to be in a district to begin several career academies over years, I'm excited to know that we have 40 career academies across our state at presence in various phases. Also, the training that was being provided to these districts are nothing short of incredible, and it shows them some pathways they can obtain post-secondary. The national standings that we have there are also excellent in a review process. We have 48 pathways, and we're also looking at the ability for our computer science classes to be impacted with our workforce development. We'll work hand in hand with our ability to see what our workforce looks like in the coming years, 5, 7, and 10 years, and we all know it will change. And so I applaud Dr. Brown and Dr. Clements, and I look forward to working with them. And Mr. East was unable to be with us today, but I'm sure he'll make it a point to be with us next time. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate those reports and appreciate the work you do on the subcommittees. We will now move into the heart of our agenda. Our first item is a report on career and college readiness. Of course, Dr. Oakley will take this.
Good morning. First item we have for you today is just an informational item related to the College and Career Readiness course that we have in place as a requirement that's new this year. When we look at this course, we see it really in support of the State Board's vision and mission. Dr. Wright shared these earlier in her strategic plan update. And when we look at where it nests within the strategic plan, it ties most directly to Goal 2. But at the same time, I think you'll see from what we look at today that this ties very closely the work that's been done to Goal 4 at the same time and the supports that we're providing to ensure that our teachers are teaching this course effectively. So to give you a little bit of context and background around this CCR course, this grew out of the work that started about the same time as the graduation requirement changes. We made adjustments to our graduation requirements and included some endorsement options for students who wanted to pursue an endorsement or a credential in career technical education or in academics or with a distinguished academic endorsement so that they would have a clearer, more prepared pathway beyond high school into post-secondary study or military or the workforce. The CCR course was developed to support the board's vision and mission and to ensure that our students graduate prepared for post-secondary and for citizenship writ large. This course outlines the knowledge that students need to obtain and the types of skills that are relevant for that successful transition into post-secondary study and into the world of work. The course curriculum evolved really from a seminar course that was created to support our early college high schools in the state. We had a CCR task force that was comprised of K-12 and post-secondary representatives and other shareholders or stakeholders as well to design this single CCR course. And as a reminder, this course is required for graduation for freshmen in the 18-19 school year. That's our current senior class. This is a requirement for our graduating seniors in the class of 2022. When we look at the course topics that are included, there's information and content in there for our students around post-secondary selection. What's their process look like as they transition from high school after graduation, whether that's 2-year, 4-year, military, apprenticeship, work, whatever that might be. There's also information in there around applying for financial aid, ensuring that students are able to complete the FAFSA and know how they can receive grants or loans if needed for post-secondary study. There's information in the course around preparing for a career, preparing for an internship or other work-based learning experience. There's information in there around financial literacy. We've heard for years in our state that we need a separate personal finance course. We've responded frequently. I want to highlight again, financial literacy is included in this college career readiness course as a significant portion of the class. There's information in there around community service. We want our students to be well-rounded, to be prepared for what's coming next. And so development of a student portfolio that highlights their work and their skills and that gives them an opportunity to offer community service hours are also a part of this course. And then finally, digital literacy and citizenship are a key component. In addition to, if you're looking for additional information on this course, including a recording of some of the virtual summer training that we've done, it's online on the secondary education page. We have offered professional development broadly since the 18-19 school year. And while she's not mentioned specifically in the training today, and she would admonish me greatly for doing it, I want to recognize Heather Morrison for her work on this project. Heather has been in the middle of this since it started. She's our P20 director, works both for the department and the IHL. But Heather has been a real champion for this work, and she gets the value that it brings to our graduates. So she's been leading a lot of this, but we want to recognize some other folks today in just a minute. But the sessions that we've offered really evolved out of this pilot project to include more broad sessions for counselors and teachers. We've now got opportunities for teachers to join a Canvas course that's been developed by a current college career readiness course teacher. We've got a number of partners in this work. You can see them on the screen. Get to College, Teresa Connor, Selena Schwartzfeger, Cindy Ming, Community College Board have all been deeply involved in this work. I do want to extend a big thank you to Teresa Connor. Heather's worked closely with Teresa. She is a current CCR teacher and a work-based learning teacher at Northwest Rankin. And she has put together a CCR course and continues to update that course and has made it available. It's hosted through the Community College Board's Canvas site, but that course is available and remains updated, and it's for teachers across the state to be able to use. It's got resources and units that are available for teachers to use in these courses. Teresa is also actively involved in the training and provides extensive support for this course. Krista DeFore is with Get to College and has been a driving force behind coordination of the efforts for this class since 2018. She's led a lot of the writing efforts connected to Units 3 and 4 of the course. She also, those units focus on planning and transition to college and financial aid. She also coordinates the monthly CCR teacher chats that are designed to support teachers across the state as they implement this class. Selena Schwartzfeger, many of you may know from the Mississippi Council on Economic Education, has led some work and been involved in this process since 2018 and was behind the financial literacy segment of this course with her background in economics education. MCEE also implemented an in-depth summer training in the summer of this year and participating teachers that went through that course were able to earn a Master Teacher of College Career Readiness endorsement. And so Teresa and Kirsten are both instructors in that course where teachers can receive that certification. Then finally, the Get to College group. You can see a large team here that's been involved in this work, supporting Mississippi's implementation of this class. They've helped get the professional development up and running over the years. They've been a strong support and a key partner for our schools and teachers, counselors, and students. So as we move this course forward into the future, we are continuing to support teachers and counselors through this Canvas course, through the options we have through the Community College Board, through this MCEE. We're going to continue to offer the Master Teacher training. The next training begins next month. And we will also continue to offer summer CCR professional development sessions for our teachers across the state. But we really believe that this course is one of the key components that we need for our students as they finish high school, that's not purely academic in nature, but really prepares them for the world after their high school career. So I'll be glad to take any questions you may have.
A good report. Any questions of Dr. Oakley as it relates to this? Hear none, so thank you, Dr. Oakley. We appreciate that good report. The next item for information is an update on our state literacy plan, and Dr. Oakley will also do this.
So in your backup, you have the full state literacy plan. This has been a work in process over the last 18 months or so. Working alongside the Region 7 Comprehensive Center, our literacy team has updated or made significant revisions to our state literacy plan. And it is designed now not just for K through 12, but from birth through 12. And again, we see this plan in direct support of the vision and mission and goals of the State Board of Education, and wherein the CCR course ties directly to students graduating ready for college and career, we do believe this state literacy plan has a deep connection to all 6 of these goals. As we look at our students' preparedness, as we look at data use, as we look at quality teachers and school improvement, all of those are closely connected to the literacy efforts we have in our state. Mississippi has been recognized broadly for its literacy efforts since the passage of the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, and so we see this plan as where we go down the road to continue to see that improvement. So to give you a little context around the plan, this really is around birth through 12. It gives us a vision and a comprehensive guide for our teachers across the state to be able to implement effective evidence-based literacy instruction that's grounded in the science of reading. It focuses deeply on language acquisition and literacy acquisition through writing and reading, speaking and listening. And it also looks closely at how we push this literacy effort, not just at the state level, but also at the district and school level and within communities. And we're looking at, again, how this is going to create measurable differences in literacy across the state. So there's some driving core beliefs behind the plan. The first of these beliefs is that all of our students deserve access to evidence-based literacy instruction using high-quality instructional materials. And Mr. East mentioned earlier the HQIM work that's underway in the state. We have just completed that review and adopted materials back in the spring. And Dr. Smith, Danette Smith, our Director for Elementary Education Reading, was very clear that review included an assurance that we are grounded in the science of reading. We know that has a big impact on outcomes, and that's one of the reasons that we've made the progress we've made in the state. We also have this core belief that students deserve access to effective teachers in the state. That ties in closely with the work Dr. Vanderford's team and Dr. Burson and Dr. Murphy are doing around educator prep programs and teacher licensure. And then finally, we know that this instruction has to be systematic, explicit, and focused on driving students toward proficiency and readiness for college and the workforce. And so I want to spend just a few minutes on the framework that drives this, because this is not just about teachers or students. There are 6 key areas here, and you see those listed down the right-hand side. Each of these is important on its own, but they all also have to be integrated so that there's this seamless, comprehensive model in our approach to literacy improvement. So we know that our educators, future educators, are coming from both alternate route and traditional route programs. We heard from one of our awardees this morning who came through an alternate route program. And so as we look at our teacher pipeline and our support of future educators, we have to ensure that we are thinking progressively and moving them progressively forward at building their expertise in teaching reading. They've got to come out with the essential skills and knowledge to perform their roles and then continue to develop those over time. When we look at family and community engagement, we know that a family is a child's first teacher. Students begin learning from their parents early on, long before they walk through the doors of a school. And so we've got to promote this shared responsibility for literacy instruction across families and schools and communities and ensure that we are engaging and involving families as key partners in this work. When we look at professional learning and practice, MDE is determined to support schools and teachers in the state with professional learning, and we want to make sure that it's focused on content, that it incorporates active learning by teachers, that it's collaborative, that it's job embedded and ongoing, that it includes coaching and mentoring, as you've heard about earlier today with our literacy coaching efforts, that it includes opportunities for feedback from teachers and reflection on their practices. We also want to make sure that that is sustained over time so that we can support new learning into instruction as teachers move forward. The fourth key component here is leadership. We're determined to ensure that our leaders are involved in this process. We're doing some work across the state in the late fall and going into the spring, building teams of school leaders to look at their literacy practices within schools. We've got to have leadership at the school and district level to effectively change student outcomes. When we look at standards and curriculum, again, I mentioned our high quality materials earlier. We've talked extensively in the past about our standards that we have in place in the state, aligned from birth through 12th grade. We have to have systemic, coherent goals from birth through 12 in place for literacy, and we have that now. Those standards determine the selection and implementation of curriculum, and that is critical to the delivery of evidence-based instruction. And then the final piece that we're looking at that's included in the plan is around instruction and intervention and assessment. And I would just say that we've got to have a comprehensive cycle there. It's not just teach and then measure completely separately and intervene completely separately. This has got to be an ongoing cycle that includes interventions and supports and quality Tier 1 classroom instruction as a big piece of that process. As a part of this plan, I wanted to also share with you a reminder that the Strong Readers, Strong Leaders website is a great online resource that's been updated in the last year. It includes a wealth of information for parents, for educators, for families, incredible links and resources for students in the lower grades, students from birth through kindergarten and across the K-12 continuum. Again, tied back to these 6 key components of the comprehensive state plan. And then finally, just as a matter of information and a matter of thanks, whether you know these folks individually or not, this team and so many others are absolutely remarkable. There's a wealth of knowledge in this state. We built our literacy team slowly and deliberately over time. Many of the folks that are on the screen and many of the others that are not, our regional coordinators and coaches, have been with us since this work started in 2013. We thought it'd be a 2-3 year process, and it has continued and grown, and look where we are. But a big thank you to Kristen and her team and so many others that have supported this work. We're looking forward to seeing it move forward, and I'll be glad to take any questions if you have them.
Any questions or comments from board members? Dr. Bass?
Question. I just have a comment. As I was going over this, it was really exciting. I was really excited to see birth, these things starting at birth. And I'm really excited to see essential instructional practices from birth to age 3, and that a lot of these things are being held up by the department as best practices in communities. So just good work on that, and excited to see this being implemented.
Thanks, Dr. Bass. That's a great point. Jill Dent and the early childhood
team were right in the middle of this work as well over the last couple of years with the standards revision and with this development of the literacy plan.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Oakley, and we thank all the people who are involved in this. I tell you, our work in literacy is the backbone of all the success we've had, I think, in terms of preparing students. So we're grateful for their efforts. Our next informational item is our Spring 21 ACT results. Dr. Vanderford will lead this discussion.
Okay, while Ms. Matthews is pulling up our PowerPoint presentation, I'll go ahead and get started. But as Ms. Altman stated, this is going to be a report of our Spring 2021 ACT results for 11th graders. Next month, you will have the report for the cohort. So we usually have 2 ACT board items that are presented. Last year, as a result of the pandemic, we may have presented those together, but it will be 2 separate items this year. So the report today will, as I mentioned, just be around the administration to all juniors in the state of Mississippi during the spring semester of 2021. The report will include the results and a comparison to 2020 results, and it will also provide a summary of students meeting the college and career readiness benchmarks in comparison to 2020 results. This report is directly tied to goals 1 and 2, but as Dr. Oakley stated, it's really hard to single out any goal because when you have items such as this, it does impact student success related to all of the State Board of Education's goals. And to emphasize Dr. Wright's comment that she made about the participation rates, we just cannot thank the districts and the staff in the districts for moving forward and administering the assessment based on the board's guidance. And I'm going to, before I turn the report over to Mr. Beer, I'm going to steal a little bit of the thunder, as Mississippi was #1 in participation rates in all states that administer the ACT to 11th graders. So I just really am proud to report that we were at the top of the list. So, absolutely. Alan, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so this ACT results will be, is of course part of our accountability system, which plays a big role in our vision and mission of the agency, and this will particularly impact goals 1 and 2, students proficient showing growth in all assessed areas, and students graduating from high school and ready for college and career. So just a little background information on the ACT. Most people here are familiar with the ACT, but it is an on-demand assessment designed as a predictive measure of college readiness. It's not a content performance measure. There are 4 primary areas that the ACT looks at. That's English, mathematics, reading, and science. And those are averaged to come up with a composite score, which can range from 1 to 36. So ACT establishes benchmarks each year. Well, not each year, I'm sorry. They establish benchmarks that can carry over for several years for each of the 4 subject areas. So 18 is English, math is 22, reading 22, and science is 23. An ACT benchmark score is the minimum score needed on an ACT subject area test to indicate a 50% chance of obtaining a B or higher, or about a 75% chance of obtaining a C or higher in a corresponding credit-bearing college course. So we'll address our grade 11 results. This is spring of 2021. So here's a trend, just looking back on our scores for each of the 4 subject areas in the composite for the past 3 years. This year, the number of students tested were 27,972. This can be better visualized here in this table. So you'll see a slight downward trend as expected for our ACT scores and subject areas. And ACT has done an impact study around COVID-19 that I'll talk about a little bit. Looking at the national picture of impact kind of helps to put things in perspective. So, as mentioned, my thunder has been stolen. Mississippi does have the highest participation rate for 11th graders this past spring. There's a couple of factors here to play. Of course, the most obvious is that ACT has a strong market presence here in Mississippi relative to SAT. But there are 14 ACT census states, so Mississippi being one of 14 states that administers the ACT to all 11th graders. So we can still say of those 14 states, we are the highest in participation for this past spring. ACT, as I mentioned, did a impact study to try to understand the impact of the pandemic on ACT scores nationally. This was a controlled and sample population looking at trying to have a comparable group from prior to the pandemic to during the pandemic. So this is an adjusted estimated national average score change for each subject area and the overall composite score. And as you can see on this slide, Mississippi's actual score declines are less than the national score declines in the 4 subject areas in the composite. So there's some good news there as well. So just our key findings. In summary, we had 422 fewer students that were assessed in 2021. That number is not necessarily unusual compared to the previous several years. We've had a slight decrease in the numbers that have been tested. Even though fewer students took the assessments, Mississippi had the highest participation rate. Our score decreased in all 4 subject areas, but the level of decline was less than the national average. 24 districts showed an increase in scores, 114 districts showed a decrease in score, and 5 showed no change. Do we have any questions about those results?
Okay, does the board have any questions on these ACT results? Any questions on the presentation?
I have a question.
I can't see your faces. The slides are still up. So, Dr. McGehee, you have a question?
Do we have any national, do we have any state correlation between the decrease in ACTs and the number of kids who were not in person in their district?
No, sir, not to my knowledge. We do not have that information.
I applaud the efforts of our principals and our teachers and our educators during trying times. And it's really great news to hear and see the participation of it. We all know that ACT will be that gateway for the pathway forward for them. So thank you for that information.
Any other questions or comments?
Any other questions or comments? Well, that was a good report, and I think we're relieved that our students have performed as well as they have and our school districts, teachers and administrators and whatever have performed as well as they have under some extremely trying circumstances. So we are grateful for that. Our next item, if there are no other questions on that, our next item is our Mississippi Academic Assessment Program. This is what we call MAP, and our participation rates. And Dr. Vanderford is going to take us through this too.
Okay, so yesterday, as you know, you had an update to your materials in board book, which provided you the backup material with a summary of all 4 subject areas, as well as the 2 media files, as we refer to them, that contain all the assessment data for all 4 subject areas, all grades, elementary, and the high school end of course. So to Dr. Gavin's point, if you print all of those, it will take at least 1 tree. She's reminded me to stop printing hard copies of those, but I did have to do those for our official file. So it will take a ream of paper if you attempt to produce all of that on paper. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint. It's very lengthy, but it summarizes the data that you have in your summary, and I'm not going to, although it's very lengthy, it will not take us long to walk through all of the slides because this is just a very high level. All of the information that's in the presentation is included in that statewide summary, so we have just selected highlights. Again, this presentation is tied to goals 1 and 2 of the board's strategic plan, and there is a slide that with our results that we've talked about constantly, the impact that the COVID has had on the disruptions that it has caused related to assessment and instruction. But I think as you'll find as we present these results that as a state, we are very pleased, although we saw declines in almost every area or in all areas with the exception of one. We are very pleased with our results as well as our participation rates. So the first few slides just provide some background information. As all of you know, in-person learning was suspended in the spring of 2020, and there were no assessments administered during the 1920 school year based on a waiver that was granted by the United States Department of Education. When we began school last year in the fall of 2020, the districts were provided 3 options for reopening schools and providing instruction to students, and those were the traditional, hybrid, and the virtual options. And during both school years and the previous and the one before, and currently, as Micah stated in her presentation, we are still dealing with the impacts of COVID-19 on instruction. And although we have not had an assessment window open this year, we have seen the impact instructionally with many districts and schools having to convert to virtual learning. In 2020-21, the state board issued guidance, as Dr. Wright stated in her opening remarks, that we would be administering all of the assessments that are a part of our Mississippi statewide assessment program, and that the expectation was for all students to assess. At the time we made that bold statement, we had no idea that the United States Department of Education would grant us any type of waiver on our participation rates. We just knew we needed that information. So in addition, the Office of Student Assessment, we looked through all of the federal and state policies and regulations that we have, and we provided as many flexibilities as possible related to in-person testing to provide to districts so that they could assess all students on site in a safe environment. And as you'll see with our participation rates, we believe those flexibilities did aid schools in getting a lot of students that were participating instructionally through virtual learning. Just as a note, those last 2 bullets, just a reminder, the grade 3 students were required to take the assessments, but were not required to earn a passing score in accordance with the Literacy-Based Promotion Act to be promoted to the 4th grade. And you do, just to mention, districts have their other local promotion and retention policies. And the same with our end-of-course assessments. They were administered, students were required to take those, but were not required to earn a passing score and had to meet all other local requirements for graduation. MAP, as Ms. Altman mentioned, is our Mississippi Academic Assessment Program, and it measures students' progress on annual assessments in grades 3 through 8 in high school in both math and English language arts, and then in science, grades 5 and 8 in biology, as well as our U.S. history end of course. The assessments are designed to keep parents informed of their child's progress, as well as to provide teachers the information that they need to guide instruction. This slide, and again, we're not going to go over the data on all of the slides, so every slide that you see that has a graphic on that is contained in your backup material in the state summary, but this is just overall MAP proficiency for 5 years, and as you'll see, there's a red line that shows our COVID disruption to our 4-year progress that we've been so proud of with the increases that we've had over the last 4 years in all 4 subject areas. And you can see there in the green that it does represent our decline as a result of the impact of COVID. The next couple of slides are just a summary, just to give you an idea. We had 239,094 students that were assessed in math, and we had 234,233 students assessed in ELA at the elementary and high school level. And then again, all of the breakdown of the data that's presented is in your backup. In Science, we had 100,000, over 100,000 students participate in our science assessments, and then we had 32,097 of the students that were enrolled in U.S. history that participated and received a scale score on the U.S. history assessment. So we'll move into some key findings for math, just as a quick overview. Math, as well as across the nation, showed a decline in proficiency at all grade levels. We had 35.1% of the students tested that scored at level 4 or higher in 2021, compared to 47.4% in 2019. In 2021, 31 districts had greater than 45% of all students scoring at level 4 or higher, compared to the 60 districts in 2019. We had 64.3% of all students tested score at level 3 or higher in 2021, compared to the 78.4% in 2019. And then our students that scored at level 1 in 2021, we had 11.9%. At level 1, compared to the 5.4% at level 1 in 2019. The next slide is a summary of student performance at all performance levels for grades 3 through 8 in mathematics. Your backup material will give you multiple graphics for math at various breakdowns, but for this presentation, we only included the overall grades 3 through 8. And again, all of our graphs will indicate the COVID disruption for 2020 when no assessments were given. The next slide is Algebra 1 summary across all performance levels for the last 5 years. Moving into some key findings for ELA. So in grade 8, the proficiency rate in 2021 increased by 0.1%. So we increased from 35.6% to 35.6% in 2021 compared to the 35.5% in 2019. When we look at students that scored level 4 or higher, we had 34.9% in 2021 compared to the 41.6% in 2019. We had 20 districts that had 45% of their students scoring at level 4 or higher in 2021 compared to 48 districts in 2019. When we look at our level 3 or higher performance, we had 66.5% of students scoring level 3 or higher in 2021 compared to 75.5% in 2019. And then the students scoring at level 1, we saw an increase to 10.9% in 2021 compared to the 6.2% in 2019. And again, the next two slides, this is just a summary at all performance levels for ELA, grades 3 through 8 for the 5-year history. And for English 2, the same graphic. And I know we're moving through these very quickly. Your board materials were marked confidential, but those will be released to the public following the board meeting. So all of this data will be made publicly available following the board meeting. So for science, grades 5 and 8 and biology, some key findings were level 4 or higher of all students tested at 50% in 2021 compared to 55.3% in 2019. In 2021, we had 68 districts that had 45% of their students scoring at level 4 or higher compared to 81 districts in 2019. When we look at level 3 performance or higher, in 2021, we had 75.5% compared to the 78.6% in 2019. And then for our level 1 performers, we had an increase or decrease of 0.5. In 2021, we had 8.5% compared to the 2019. We had 9% scoring at level 1. A little improvement there. So the next two slides, all performance levels for grade 5 and 8 science. And the science assessment, just as a reminder, this was our second year
Right.
to administer the
Right.
science assessment that is aligned to the new science standards. So that's why you only see 2 years of data there. And then a slide for biology. All right, some key findings for U.S. history. As a reminder, U.S. history was a new assessment for the 2021 school year. And if you recall in a previous board meeting that we had in the summer, we had standard setting in June of 2021. Prior to this new assessment, we had 4 performance levels in U.S. history. And during the standard setting process, we established 5 performance levels to be consistent across all of our other MAP assessments. And if you recall, we had a conversation about these standards being set on a new assessment during a pandemic year of the administration, and our technical advisory committee recommended that the MDE and the vendor conduct a validation study of the standard setting process that occurred in the summer of 2021, and we presented that plan to the board, and it was approved back in the summer, so we will move forward with doing that once we receive the spring of 22 U.S. history results. Some key findings, again, these look a little bit different because prior to 2021, we only had 4 performance levels, so that's why you see proficient at levels 4 and 5. In 2021, we had 65 districts that had 45% of their students proficient, and so in 2019, 87 districts for that comparison, but that level 3 on the previous scale, level 3 and 4 was proficient and higher. So in 2021, level 4 or higher, 47.4% compared to 55.5 in 2019. And we look at our level 1 performers, we had, in 2021, we had 4.4% compared to the 21% that scored level 1 in 2019.
That's a pretty significant
It is so when you really dig through all the data that you have in front of you, they are some spots, some bright spots there. All right, so the next couple of slides, U.S. history. This one looks a little bit different because this is a new year of an assessment, and our performance levels changed. They were 3 and 4 proficient and above, 2016 through 2019, and then now in 2021, levels 4 and 5 proficient. And this is the percent of students at performance levels 1 through 5 for U.S. history this year alone. All right, these next couple of slides are going to highlight our top 10 and our bottom 10 districts in each of the 4 subject areas. So again, we'll just pause on a few of the slides but just be reminded that you do have this information in your backup, and we'll be happy to email the presentation if anyone would like that following the board meeting. Slide 32, the 2021 key findings. The 2 districts are being recognized as being in the top 10 districts for all 4 subject areas. So this is math, ELA, science, and U.S. history. And that's Ocean Springs School District and the Petal School District. Now we had 6 districts that appeared in the top 10 list of high performers in both math and ELA, and that's Clinton Public School District, Enterprise School District, Madison County School District, Ocean Springs School District, Petal School District, and Rankin County School District. So this is the only slide in which we will name each of the top performers. The next slides we'll pause. Now, the next slide is going to give you an overall summary of the districts that were in the bottom 10. So we had 4 districts that were in the bottom 10 in overall of all 4 subject areas. That's Holmes County Consolidated School District, Humphreys County School District, North Panola School District, and Yazoo City School District, Municipal School District. And then we had 5 school districts that were in the bottom 10 for both math and ELA. That's, again, Holmes County Consolidated, Humphreys County, Mississippi Schools for the Blind and the Deaf, and then North Panola School District and Yazoo City Municipal School District. So the next slides are going to represent the overall top 10 and bottom 10 districts in each of the 4 areas. And so the first slide represents math. So I'm not going to read all of those,
But these are, I think it's important to know, these are proficiency rates.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Overall math districts, top 10, bottom 10, with students that had at proficient and advanced levels 4 and 5. Thank you, Dr. Wright, for emphasizing that.
We've just been talking about participation so much, I didn't want people to look at that and think it was participation.
That's right. And so if it's a charter school or a special state board of education governed school, we've tried to indicate the grades for you because they are not equivalent, of course, to districts that have served students grades K through 12. All right, so that's the math. Moving on to the next slide, this represents English Language Arts. Again, with students performing at levels 4 and 5, proficient and advanced, top 10 and bottom 10. And again, all of these lists include the LEAs, the 3 state board governed schools, and the charter schools. The next slide is science. And the last overall top 10 and bottom 10 is related to U.S. history. Okay, moving into summary of participation rates. I think we've said a lot about that throughout the course of the day. But again, we were waived of compliance with the 95% participation rate and strongly encouraged. And look at the second bullet there. In 2021, the overall participation rate, as Dr. Wright stated, for math, ELA, science, and U.S. history was 96.9%. And then the bullets following, the overall participation rate for 3 through 8 math and algebra 1 was 96.9%. For grades 3 through 8 ELA and English 2, 97.2%. Grades 5 and 8 science and biology, 95.6%. And U.S. history, 96.5%. And then we have a couple of slides. So this next slide is going to highlight the top 10 and bottom 10 districts with participation rates related to participation rates. And this first slide is for math. And you'll see the percentage. And one of the things that we've talked about as a leadership team, and I've heard Dr. Wright talk about it as she speaks, I mean, our lowest, as you see in mathematics, our lowest district had a participation rate of 80%. So when we look at the number of schools that may not have ever returned to in-person learning last year, many of these districts still were able to get 80% or above of their students back into the building and test those students in person, since remote testing was not available in Mississippi. And then the participation rates for ELA are on the next slide. And even the lowest here was a little bit higher at 81.1%. So we were just really proud overall of not only our participation rates, but our assessment results as well. So as we're participating in meetings nationally and what we're hearing from our colleagues, everyone anticipated a dip, but it appears that we may be still have some of the highest as far as our MAP program scores across the nation, just as we did with ACT. So our dips, we know, were not as much as some of the colleagues that we have spoken with across the nation. So we're very pleased. Dr. Samsel, is there anything else that you would like to add regarding?
The only thing that I noticed when I went through the report this morning for the 100th time is that I did notice on the overall proficiency, you have to understand that we did change standards, but not only with U.S. history, but with science. So if you see that high level, we were in the science frameworks, whereas in ELA and math, we were in the college and career readiness standards. So we moved science into college and career readiness standards before 2019. And so it did dip in 2019. And then we also went into U.S. history this past year.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board on the MAP result?
Jacob?
What are the 4 levels? What's that mean?
Okay, so the 4 levels.
The 4 levels and what it means. I can answer, but you want to answer?
Mr. Jacobs, are you asking about when we say level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? What does that mean? Okay.
Our performance levels.
We've got a 5 performance level system. 5 is the highest, that is advanced. 1 is the lowest. And in order to be proficient on our exams, you have to score at level 4 is considered proficient, and 5 then is advanced. So if you were scoring below that, that means you're not scoring at a proficient level. So that's one reason on all of our slides we capture 4 and 5 together, because that really gives you an idea across the state of how many of our children are proficient or advanced in any particular subject area.
Okay, and
does that help?
Yeah, and the 4 level, it had 1 for minimal, and then it had 4 for advanced. We didn't have a passing. Level 3 was not included.
In what subject are you talking about?
U.S.
He was asking about the 4 performance levels.
In U.S. history. I didn't understand the question, but I think
he was talking about levels, period. And when he was, isn't that what you were talking about when you were saying what's level 4 mean, Mr. Jacobs? Yeah, that's what I thought. He was talking about, what does 1 through 5 mean?
And I think the confusion here is that in prior years, prior to the standard setting for the new U.S. history test,
we
it
only
had
had
4 levels, but now
it has
all
5.
of our assessments in the statewide assessment system have 5. So I'm sorry for the bobble there. I didn't understand the question at first.
The one reason that we also lifted up the percentages in level 1, you will note that on the outcomes that I gave you on the strategic plan, one of the outcomes we focus on is reducing the numbers of percentages of children that are in levels 1, 2, and 3, because we want more of our children obviously scoring in levels 4 and 5, which are proficient or advanced. And that's one of the reasons we lifted that up as a data point.
Dr. Bass, you have a question or comment?
Yes. Both of them at the same time. So might want to jot down what the 2 questions are. So the first question is around like the data broken out in the subgroups. And I was wondering if there were any analyses happening on the rate proficiency in advanced and also, levels 1, 2, and 3 according to student subgroups. So income level, race, ability, and also if there was data around like whether they were in person or virtual. So that's one. I'll be really interested to see that data. And I was just wondering if there was any analyses happening there. And then my other question is around, so, as expected, this data sort of, set us back. There are a lot of kids who are coming to school who aren't proficient in the grade level that they should be proficient in, and a lot less students coming to school than there normally would be, given the impact of the pandemic. And I was just wondering, like, what kind of guidance districts have had, or what are the implications on how we look at accountability in the future? Because it seems like something that is like really having an impact in this moment in time, and it's not just going to stop this year or next year. Like, it's really going to make a big impact for, you know, future years to come. And I was just wondering sort of what, how the department is thinking about addressing those things and really making up for that.
So you did have some loaded questions there. Thank you for letting us know that we needed to get our pen to jot down those. So based on my notes, the gap analysis,
yes, that's what I was
we
gonna
do
say.
that on an annual basis, and we generally do that following the accountability results. So I should have stated, although the letter grades will not be issued this year, we did hold harmless for that. We will present in October all of the components of the accountability model that we have available. And so we're still working through what we are going to be able to report, as well as what any type of analysis by subgroup will look like. But that is still on our radar. We just do that with the accountability results when we get to that point.
So let me just expand on that a little bit. So we do every year produce what we call a gap report, and that is by subgroup, and all the subgroups that you have just listed are on that report. And we do that by district and by school. It is a lengthy report, but you will see exactly what you've just asked for in October. And as Dr. Vanderford said, although we're not going to be awarding grades, we are going to be reporting out the results of every component in the accountability model, so that by district and by school, so that schools know, communities know, parents know exactly what that looks like. So that's something that we started a few years ago, and I think has been very beneficial for folks across the state to see. So you've asked a really good question. And if you're asking about what guidance we've given, we've put together, and under Dr. Oakley's leadership, there's been a lot of resources that have been developed and pushed out to schools. The primary message that I've been giving all teachers is to make sure you teach grade level standards. Even though you may have children that are not ready at that moment, teach the grade level standards, because our standards are developed in such a way that when you teach a grade level standard, you're going to know exactly which child does and does not understand that, and you can always supplement with another standard at a lower grade. But we never encourage teachers to drop back a grade level at all, but to stick with the grade level standards. And we found that the researchers that we've been working with nationally are in absolute agreement with our stance, that they're saying stick with grade level standards and accelerate from there. But Dr. Oakley's team has put together instructional planning guides. They've put together book lists. Robin Lamonis and her team are working on interventions for children. We're getting ready to bring to you, I think in November, being able to purchase, or districts will be able to take advantage of high dosage tutoring for individual children in all subject areas. So there's a lot that the department is working on behind the scenes, but a lot of this is already pushed out and is currently on our website. So teachers can go on our website. Our professional development has been rolling out. It's been rolling out since we've never stopped, to be quite honest. And we've had to go to that virtually, but we are now moving back to that in person when we can. But there is a ton of professional development that is out there being offered for teachers to help them with little ones that may be struggling. So you've hit on two very, very important questions, and know that we are working on both and have done a tremendous amount for teachers already. Thank you for those questions. Those were good.
Any other questions or comments on this item?
Can I just make an overall?
Well, this is Glenn East. I was going to add, and Dr. Wright addressed Ms. Bass's question, but as a school district that's working through the learning loss, there has been a great deal of information sent out. I know that in our school district, Ms. Bass, we're working with a group of children that were virtual that have been struggling. And so that information from the State Department, the staff development that's going with that has been right on target. So I think we all have some work to do, every one of our school districts to a degree, but working through the learning loss this year. And as you mentioned, Mr. Bass, going into the future, I think it's going to be important. But I think we're all pretty focused on it based on the information the state's been giving us to help. So good job, MDE.
I would just thank you, Mr. East. Would remind districts, we've put out spending guidance for the local district allocations of the 3 rounds of the multiple rounds of ESSER funding. And so one of those recommended uses of funds is interventions and supports, assistive technology, tutoring, after school programming. So all of those have been are options for districts to utilize their local federal funding in response to the pandemic. And then there's some requirements in the 3rd round of ESSER funding for a segment of that state set-aside money to support learning loss and summer and after-school programming. And so there will be grant opportunities available for districts and for other parties to apply later in the fall.
Perfect. I just wanted to just give an overall comment, and I've just got to say hats off to our teachers and our leaders across the state. I mean, we dropped by about 6.5 points in ELA, but that's over a 2-year period of time. And that's, I think, the foundation that we have laid across the state with our pre-K through grade 3, grade 5 literacy has paid off for us, because I think that these children have learned a tremendous amount, and nationally we're mirroring what's happening nationally. Mathematics fell a little steeper than ELA, but when I had my media call yesterday, I really meant when I said this is a glass half full story. This is not a glass half empty. There were districts and schools that improved in their proficiency rate. So we don't want you to think that every school in every district dropped. That's not the case. And when you take a look at this by school and by district, you're going to see those results. So this is what I said to the media was like, the nation has faced its worst crisis in over 100 years. And in the middle of this crisis, our teachers and our leaders hung in there. And God love them, brought them all these kids in to test to see where we were. And now they've got this information in their hands. They can use it. We are using it to guide our professional development plan for the year. And so we know that we know how to do this, and the districts know how to do this. And it is going to take a little bit more effort, to your point, Ms. Bass, because we do have children, that have slid. But that's okay. That we know that, right? And so teachers know that. And as we speak, districts are identifying these children right now for interventions so that they can get them on pace. And I just want to say I'm very, very proud of the work of our teachers and our leaders across the state. And I didn't want this to go as the storyline that, oh my gosh, we've dipped. We did. But you know what? This could have been a lot worse than it was right now. And I really give a lot of credit to what's been happening across the state.
Okay, thank you. I think everyone expected a dip, and yet it has proven not to be quite the catastrophe we thought it possibly would be. So yes, we're pleased with what we see and feel like we can make up those gaps over a period of time with the work that goes on in the classroom. Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, we'll move on then to our first. Thank you, Dr. Vanderford. We appreciate your information. We'll move on to our first action item. Dr. Gavin is bringing 2 contracts, and we'll take these in one vote. So, Dr. Gavin, you can just go through both of them.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. We do have, as Mrs. Altman said, we have 2 contracts coming before the board for approval. The first item is a contract with Hub Information Technologies, Inc., and that is to purchase an upgrade to our ELM system, our Educator Licensure Management System, as well as to purchase 2 new modules associated with the Professional Growth System.
Okay, the first one relates to educator licensure management. Do you have any questions on that contract? Okay, the second one,
Our second contract coming before you for approval is a contract with Collier Technology Solutions, and this is our vendor that provides our support to our child nutrition management system. And it is a 5-year contract.
any questions on that one? All right, then we'll entertain a motion to approve items 5A and 5B.
Motion to approve 5A and 5B, please.
Okay, do we have a second? Dr. Bass seconds it. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Raise your hand. Okay, all right, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, item 6 is approval of MDE grant awards.
Okay, we're presenting to the board today 3 items under grants. The first 2 are modifications to existing grants. Item 6A is to modify a competitive grant for 21st Century, and that's adding funding and an additional year to those particular grants. The second item is modification to the Mississippi Community Oriented Policy Service in Schools Grant, better known as MCOPS. We're bringing forth, we needed to modify the DeSoto County grant for an additional $110,000 there, and the backup is attached explaining that. And then item 6C is a new grant. Well, it's not a new grant. It's a grant to a legislative mandate associated with the world-class teacher programs that we have at 6 institutions.
Do you have any questions on any of these grants, these 3 grants? Okay, hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve items 6A, 6B, and 6C.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Dr. McGehee, do we have a second? Dr. Barrett? Okay, all in favor? Okay, all right. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 7, we have a consent agenda. We have items A through O. Do you have a question on any of these items on the consent agenda? Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to approve items A through O on the consent agenda.
So moved, Karen Young.
Okay. Is there a second to that? Okay, Ms. Werner? Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is a consideration of an executive session. Do we have a motion related to executive session?
Do the board consider making a closed determination for the need to go into executive session?
We have a second to that? Okay,
Second,
Dr.
Karen
Okay.
Young.
All right. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. Thank you. We will now move into preparation for an executive session. Dr. Wright and the executive leadership team
The board voted unanimously to go into executive session in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated section 2541.7 4A and K to discuss discrete personnel matters related to the approval of appointments to certain positions within the Department of Education.
Get our live stream back on here. We're back on. Okay. During the executive session, the board made 3 appointments. The first one being Shania Sims to School Finance Officer. The second one being a Bureau Director 2 in Grants Management, Tammy Turner. And the third one being a School Finance Officer in Grants Management, Chandra Robinson. All of these replace people who've been within the agency and have vacated their spots. So we're happy to have those people working with the department. Do we have any reports on any meetings that you may have attended this last month from the board? Do any of you need approval to attend out-of-state meetings? Okay, then if the October board meeting will be held October 21st, 2021 in this room in the Central High Building at Mississippi Department of Education. We are looking forward to the day we can all be back around the table and conduct business a little more smoothly than we're able to do it this way. I have no other business, and so we will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn? Okay, Dr. Elam, do we have a second? Ms. Werner, you raised your hand, you can have the second. All in favor? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We've gotten a lot done this morning. Y'all have a